Exit 12 is not affiliated with any 12-step group or outside organizations. The purpose of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. No person or organization is receiving any monetary gain from the recording, production, or distribution of this podcast. All hosts and guests are participating of their own free will and are only sharing their own personal experiences. Subjects discussed in this podcast may be triggering for some individuals. Listeners' discretion advised. All right. Welcome to Exit 12. I am your host, Bryan Fields. And as always, I am joined by my amazing co-hosts, Michelle and Isaac. No. Oh, you guys.
What's up?
We need to add some like audio clap or something for you guys because that was anticlimactic. Okay.
That's why I was like, da-na-na-na.
Okay. At least we have something there, I guess. Today we have another amazing guest, and we're so excited to have her here. Let's welcome Maggie.
Woo!
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Maggie.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. If you are a youth and you're in need of homeless or at-risk youth services, please come down to my house at 300 North Willow Street or give us a call at 907-373-4357.
Downtown Wasilla.
Downtown Wasilla. We're here. Been here. Stay here.
Done here.
Come get the help that you need.
It's really late in the day when we're recording this, everyone.
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyways, we're here. There are lots of people here ready to help you if you are ready. And even if you're not ready, we're still here. So
you should be ready. You should have admitted that you were powerless by this point.
Nope.
You should have listened to step one and now you're ready.
No. Not if you need services. Don't say that.
Okay, sorry.
You come in any way, shape, or form that you feel that you need to be here. It doesn't matter to us. We just want to help people. That's all.
Oh, that is true.
That's all it comes down to.
But if you listen to this podcast,
please,
then we have completed
yourself.
step one.
Yes.
We've admitted that we are powerless.
We admitted. So now
what do we do, Bryan?
Now we move on to step two.
Boom.
Which is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm crazy. I'm a crazy boy.
So power greater than oneself.
Yes, sir.
I am very curious to hear what that means to each of you guys. And
Yeah.
I'm also curious to hear if that power is the same now as it was when you maybe initially took that first step into step two.
For sure. Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. How would you guys describe step two to someone who is new, Isaac, to the 12-step program?
Well, I think describing that step two is having a power greater or believing in a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity is pretty much having a belief in something that is bigger than us because we are insane. We are crazy because we're alcoholics, and that's just how our mind is wired.
Insane in the membrane.
And so having that higher power helps us go to be a normal person, right? And so that's my thoughts of step two.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you look at it, right, again, as I stated in step one, there's no trial or tribulation that you have to go to do this step.
Sure.
Right. And it doesn't say that I relinquish my sins and I'm going to church every Sunday. Hallelujah.
Southern Baptist, Bryan.
Yeah. It doesn't
Haven't
say
met
that,
you before.
Right? It doesn't say like and whatever floats your boat really at the end of the day, right? It doesn't say like I've come to believe in God. I've come to believe in Jesus. I've come to believe in whatever.
Your Lord and Savior.
Your Lord and Savior, Buddha, whatever. It doesn't say any of those
Creator.
things, right? Your creator. Yeah. I'm Alaska Native. I get down with that. Yeah. It's a power greater than yourself. Yeah. Right.
Sure.
It could be the universe.
Yeah. And so how it was explained to me, it was like, I'm like sitting in this room with 3 other gentlemen and they were all, so us here together, would you believe that we're a power greater than you? Like if we attacked you right now. Whoa.
Like jumped him?
See, we had to, yeah. See, like when I was first coming in, we had to dumb stuff down really like simple. So if we attacked you right now, would you be able to like fend us off?
The three of you?
Yeah, but it was like my brother, James Savage.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, right. So like both of them together, I'm all, yeah, no, I couldn't do that. So and then it was, so you believe that we're power greater than yourself.
Gotcha.
Right? Powder.
That's interesting to me because so at the request of Michelle and a couple other folks, because here at my house, we're working on getting our 12-step recovery meeting going for youth, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm the youth representative to the board. I work with their youth board of directors, and I felt like I can't be a part of this planning process without seeing what this looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a Thursday night meeting with folks that shall remain anonymous because it is an anonymous meeting.
Good for you.
But it was really. I was a little nervous because I was like, man, do they know that I'm just like
A
I'm a
normie?
normie right now? Like, am I allowed to mention that I was there with you?
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
just did.
Well,
so.
if I wasn't, then we would edit it out, Brian. Okay.
No.
So I was there with Michelle Parker
Yes.
and some
Parker.
other folks, and that was helpful because I was like, man, I don't know if I'm allowed to sit here, like, but I come from a very strong church background, like grew up going to church, still go to church, and so it was very familiar for me to be in that setting. Like you can see the religious backgrounds that kind of started AA, but I also knew some of those folks there personally as coworkers or peers in the field. And, I know that not all of them necessarily believe in a higher power as I would believe in it. And so this step is super, super interesting to me because despite the diversity of beliefs, everyone still comes to terms with this power greater than themselves. And it's all effective as part of this 12-step journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And really what it comes down to is just, it's about that humility of saying, I can't, he can, or I can't, we can, or, however you need to interpret that. But what it really comes down to is, my whole life, it was my way, and this is how we're going to do it. And that's all that you're not going to tell me nothing.
Yeah.
And so this allowed me to kind of take that step back and just say, okay, so in step one, I'm like, yeah, my way is not working and I'm a crazy person. Okay. And I believe that there's something out there, or there's somebody, I've heard about people having a doorknob for a higher power. But the thing about that is it always turns on you. You know what I mean? So I had to get a dad joke in there. I'm so sorry. That was so bad.
I'm never recording this past 3:00 ever again. Never again.
But,
I've heard someone say that it was their higher power. It was just a dude who looked like a hippie that sat with her in the passenger seat on her way to work. And she brought him everywhere with him. And she talked to him. All right, dude. What are we doing today? How are we gonna accomplish this today? How are we gonna get over this today? And so it's all kinds of different things. So
yeah, for sure. We're gonna edit this. We might want to get like up on there.
All up on it. Maggie, what was this experience like for you and your journey and I really am curious about with all of you how it's evolved from the beginning to now.
Well, I mean, like when I first did step 2, like I was taken aback because I thought I was all that and a bag of cheese.
A bag of cheese. Who wants a bag of cheese?
But like I thought I was like all that, and like to admit and to rely on something greater than myself, like I thought you were insane for having me read this and try to follow like something that's not myself. But like reading the first 164 pages like helped prep me for this step because it helped me realize the patterns I have in my life, and just relying on myself and my thoughts, like I burned everything to the ground.
Yeah.
So it's about, back to your point, Bryan, it's about, this step is really about humility.
Yeah.
And you've acknowledged that you're powerless, and now coming to terms with the position of how that humbles you.
Yeah. And really, and what it also comes down to is identifying the insanity, right? So we kind of touched on it in step one, where, you know, I can't tell you how many times I lost a job, I was homeless, I ruined a relationship, I hurt my brother or sister, I caused all this wreckage, and nowhere in my brain was I saying I should just get sober. Like,
that was never an option.
That was not an option. Like, there was always a but wait, or I just need, or something to that effect, where I mean, and it's just so like I just stay in that revolving door, and I'm just going in circles and circles and circles and circles and circles, and that is literally the definition of insanity, right? And so being able to identify that portion is super huge, and was very hard for me, because it was, you know, I don't have a problem, you have a problem with my problem. There's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it sucks for you, but it doesn't really suck for me.
Well, it's like for me, like I got into like inpatient rehab when I was 18, and I was in treatment multiple times as an 18-year-old. And like the first time I went to a meeting, I was like, oh, I'm just here to support my friend, you know? We drank the same exact amount, and still then like I was like, I'm fine.
Right.
And it took me like relapsing a couple of times to actually realize that like, yeah, I'm insane, because I kept trying to do the same thing, or being like, I'll try this program just to see if I can drink normally.
Yeah. It's like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I was just going to say that,
Yeah.
right? It's that definition of insanity that you're talking about.
Yeah, like all the time I was always trying to like drink just one drink, and then it ended up to 3, then it ended up to 6, then it ended up to 10, and then I blacked out. Right? And like it was just all the time. I couldn't just do one. It was like constantly
Snowballing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just increases over time. And so, you know, like the initial thought to step 2 is, you know, you want me to be a church loving person. And I came into the rooms with a resentment against God.
Yeah.
And I absolutely wanted nothing to do with God. Right. And so when you come to me and you say these things of there's a power greater than myself, that's why it had to be explained to me the way it did. Cause I was like, I even went to a meeting and was like, F your God, F these steps. You guys are dumb.
Hey, is there anyone that's here in their first 30 days? Bryan's just F you. This is BS.
Yeah, man, I was crazy. I was out of my mind, bonkers. And so what was your guys' first thought with that initial step? Because I know for me, it was I almost walked out of the door because of it.
Well, mine was complete opposite, honestly. Like I had a higher power. Like I believed in God, and you know, I didn't really have that issue with thinking that there wasn't something greater than me. I think it was me struggling to believe that I was deserving of it. I didn't think I was deserving of having something higher and greater than me that could make me feel okay. You know, like I felt like I had to work so hard, and I had to, you know, like, I don't know, read the Bible, or I had to go to church and volunteer and do all these things. And then I would be fixed. You know, I would become normal again. If only I just have this. If only I get all these things, then I'm going to be good. I'm going to
Right.
be okay.
Peachy keen.
And
Mhm.
I'm not going to be insane anymore. And I am happy-go-lucky. But it just wasn't that way for me. And then when I went to jail and I really built that relationship with my higher power, that's when I started realizing that I am deserving and I am loved, even though under the circumstances why I went to jail. You know, it was a tragic accident, a tragic DUI accident. And you know, when I first got into jail, I thought to myself, like, why me? Why did I have to go through this? But I think it was really my higher power's way of having me sit the F down, you know, because I was doing all the stuff, you know, I was doing all the crazy stuff just so I could get that fix. And then instead of asking like, why me, I started thinking, I was like, what is my higher power trying to teach me? And so it switched when I was in jail, and I started realizing, you know, I do have a higher power that cares about me, and I was placed in here, and you know, I could have died, but I was placed in here, and I'm meant to meet these people. I'm meant to work on me and fix the things that I didn't used to work on before. And so I think that was the first time I really encountered my higher power face to face. And then when I got out, my higher power, you know, a little changes a little bit more. I have a little bit of a different perception of my higher power now, but I feel way more connected than I ever did before. And so I think that was one of the huge things of my first interaction with it.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
in that initial instance you're describing, you know, I just need to work harder. I just need to get out of it. But there's no room for grace in that mentality, right? And kind of going back to step one, you're powerless. You're not able to, by your own thinking or choosing, be perfect, live up to this standard. That's not just for alcoholics. I mean, I believe that just in my spiritual life. I'm not able to be this perfect man that, you know, I would like to be. And I will never be able to, by my own works, achieve that, right?
Yeah.
I need the grace and forgiveness and help of my higher power to accomplish those goals.
Yeah, I have my mindset's kind of towards that now.
Yeah.
Than what it used to be. And so, although being human, you know, sometimes we tend to fall back and go back into our
for
old
sure.
ways of thinking.
Yeah.
What about you, Maggie? What was your initial understanding of step 2?
Of step 2, like with a higher power, you know, like I grew up in a very religious like household, you know, like a mixture of things, like, and so I had a good understanding of like what my higher power looked like growing up. But then like once my addiction just like kicked off, like I was full of shame, couldn't face like myself, and it was hard for me to wrap my head around that like my higher power is forgiving and like knowing that I'm not perfect. And so it's like I was super duper upset with my higher power when I first came into this 12-step program, and like it took a lot of me just trying to believe in something, and in spite of my sponsor, for a long time. Like I did not think that there was something out there that's greater than me. And so it's like the more I just accepted it and not fight it so much, because like I was trying to define every little thing, trying to like pick apart like what is a higher power, like what do they look like, what are their characteristics, you know, what their flaws are, like. And I remember this woman, you know, she was like, she sat me down and I was like, how did you come to terms with that there's a higher power out there? And she was like, I stopped trying to figure it out. I just let go. She was like, I just prayed and prayed to nothing, you know, but the more I did it, you know, the more I felt connected. And so she was like, stop fighting it, Maggie. Just pray. Like, you're thinking too much into it. So I'm an overthinker with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so awesome. And I love that insight into, you know, that's so much of all of the 12 steps is get out of your own way and just do it. You know?
Yeah.
That's what people said more than they're at the meeting that I was at, without, you know, sharing anyone's personal stories or anything. So much of it just boiled down to, yeah, you just got to do the work. You just got to sit down and you just got to do the work. And it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be fun. But if you do it, you will feel the reward on the other side of it. And in the middle of that process, there is joy inside of that hard work as well. Which is so, it's not a fun answer if you're beginning this journey, if you're inside of those first 30 days. And this step, I think, is so intimidating because so many people have religious trauma or a background, whether it be a more traditional church or whatever. People come in with preconceived notions, and they also come in with, in some cases, a lot of resentment for good reason with these earthly institutions.
Yeah.
And so letting go, to your point, Maggie, I can see being such a critical component of this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why there's all those sayings, let go and let God. And, you know what I mean? Jesus, take the wheel. All that type of stuff, you know, and I think we're hammering really hard on the God aspect of power greater than ourselves. And I just really want to reiterate to anybody out there that is struggling with this, like, it does not anywhere in this step say God, right? And it's a power greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, I had to remind myself multiple times, because, like, I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this program. Like, it's all God. Like, and I'm not deserving of that. So therefore, I don't think I should be in this meeting and, like, partake in these steps and have a sponsor. But, like, taking that and just having it like a open context, nothing specific, no like defining thing for my higher power.
Yeah. And I think the point of this first step and this second step is to kind of brace you for what's about to come. To be honest, these 1 and 2 in my eyes are the gentle steps before the work starts. They're about trying to get your mind open to something other than yourself.
This is the gentle part?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Admitting that you are powerless and you have to be humble is the easy part. That's the hardest part for me. I hate it. I hate being humble.
Well, that's you.
Get to step 4.
Yeah.
Wait until you get to step
7.
Or 7.
Even step 3, right? If I don't, and that's why they're in order for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't do step 1 and 2, there's no possible way, especially coming from my background and the way that I viewed the world and all of the different things, that I would have been able to go through those steps. So these are they're hard pitches, but they're soft pitches at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and so it kind of just, it gets you to open the idea to different possibilities is what I believe step 1 and 2 are really truly about. And I've done steps with multiple people in multiple different ways, but I really loved the way that the ranch did the steps, because it was broken down and thorough. And for me, being me, having challenging like these beliefs, I needed to look at everything step by step, right? I needed to understand exactly what you're saying to me, you know, and I needed to understand I've been through programs. I've had people with plaques on their walls and fancy degrees tell me my entire life what's wrong with Bryan, right? That's just
such a good TV show. Honestly, write that down.
What's wrong with Bryan? You know, and so being able to stop, you know, take a look at, you know, and here's the evidence of this is why your life is unmanageable. This is why you're insane. This is why there's maybe a possibility of something out there greater than yourself, you know. And so some people do it in the way where it's, you know, you do step 1, 2, and 3. And then you start working on step 4 and 5. And I'm like, yeah, if I would have done that at the beginning, I don't know that I would have been able to get through an honest step 4. But so was there, I guess, Michelle, you kind of touched on this already, but was there a specific experience or moment where you felt the possibility that there was a power greater than yourself?
Yeah, So I think like when I was a kid, I was told that there's a God. It was a little confusing at first because like my mom was Catholic and my dad was Christian, questionably. I don't know. And then we stepped into Mormonism, and then I didn't really know what more. Like I was so confused. What like.
There's a lot of
does
competing ideas
everyone
there.
has a different God? Like what's going on? You know. So it was very confusing at first. But then, you know, when I started believing in a higher power greater than myself, it was when Linda brought me to church. And that's when I let go. But then, you know, I fell back into my addiction, and because I kept trying to take the wheel to think that like I have this under control. I can
told Jesus to take the wheel, but you kept trying to jerk it out of his hands.
Yeah.
Get that back.
Yeah. And then, you know, it definitely has changed a lot, you know, because like ever since I've gotten out too, like, you know, I go to church occasionally with Linda still, and it just, with all the different things, and I'm healing myself and I'm being more in tune with myself, I started thinking about like the possibility of a different higher power, you know, and I don't know, I think I'm at this phase in my life where I'm like Christian, but then also with the universe and creator. And so like, I'm kind of just like open to that, especially if I'm getting in touch with my culture more too, and having the creator as a higher power too. And I think me actually letting go and trying to think that I have this under control, because I think I do that. And a lot of us alcoholics do that a lot. Like, I have this under control. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm fine. I'm effed up, insecure, neurotic, emotional, you know, fine. Yeah. And so it's definitely, I think I definitely had that possibility when I went to jail, and then maybe a little bit before I went to jail, but when I went to jail is definitely when I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I don't have this under control. My life's kind of in flames right now.
Yeah. What about you, Maggie? Was there a specific moment or experience that made you believe that there was a power greater than yourself?
Well, I mean, like, I think I've experienced it a couple of times. Like the first time, like when I was adopted into the family that I was adopted into, you know, that was a major thing for me, like a life event. And then when I was 18, like the whole story of like me being in the hospital, coma, having to be revived and everything, and like I was dead for a couple of minutes. but actually coming back to life and being here to tell this story, like that's something that I think is a spiritual experience, because like the doctors didn't think I'd survive that. Like they were about to pull the plug because I was on life support and in a coma for over a week. You know, there was no activity. They didn't know what was going on. And so that's something that I definitely think that was a spiritual experience for me. But the more I worked on these steps, the farther I got, like, and making those amends, which will be later down the road, like that is something that was really eye-opening to me, because I have caused this harm, but me being able to be humble and admit my wrongs and everything, like, and rely on a higher power to guide me through this process was definitely a spiritual experience for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I love, because that was my experience. So, I mean, it's hard to define an exact moment, because there was a combination of moments for me, right? Where it was, you know, everything, a lot of it was continuing to go to meetings, right? And there was so much power in that, and hearing, like, when I could actually focus enough to hear what other people were saying, and understand that, you know, like all of these people here are miracles that you're even sitting in these seats, you know, that you're even here today. Because when I was first in treatment, there was people, you know, unfortunately, like out in my personal life, like passing away. And I remember thinking like that could have been me. That could have been me. And then as I went on and I'm hearing all these people's stories, I'm like, man, that's crazy that you're still here. Right. And so for me, that little possibility, because that's what it ultimately is. It doesn't say without a shadow of a doubt that I believe that there's a power greater than myself. It doesn't say that I write some blood oath that there's a power greater than myself, right?
Sacrifice a goat.
Yeah, sacrifice a goat.
I missed that part of the meeting.
I believe, right? It says I came to believe. I came to have an idea and an understanding. And so if you have that, again, if you have that resistance or that kind of, I don't know if I want to even think about, you know, if you kind of just take a step back and look at everything around you, you can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of what it looks like, what a power greater than yourself looks like if you watch the people around you, right? Because there are some amazing people out there that have been through horrific things that are now doing amazing things within their community, within their families, within, you know, just everywhere, right? Within their company, organization, whatever. And so but it wasn't for me until way later in the steps that I was able to fully, wholeheartedly believe, right? But I got the idea by continuing to go to meetings. So, so this is my last question for everybody. It's looking back, how would you describe the moment or turning point when you felt restored to sanity through your belief in a higher power?
Well, I think being an alcoholic is like it's
A never-ending thing.
yeah, like it's consistently going over and redoing, and you're like, damn it, I'm freaking taking the wheel again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my life's in flames, and I'm not doing great mentally, and my bills are short, you know, and I'm spending more money than I need to, and not having enough for my utilities or whatever, you know, and so like there's some moments though when I do feel like I'm saying, like, you know, that I went to a training last week, right? And it made me realize how connected we are as human beings, and like it started really thinking about like your inner child and everything. And so, you know, ever since I went to that training, I started really thinking about that, and then like my higher power and just like letting go and releasing. And these past few days, I've felt normal, like so normal than I ever have in a while. And so I think it's just like it's like a spiral, or a spring. You see a spring and it goes up and it goes down and then up and down and up and down. And I think that's just how it is with this step. Like you are good for a long time. It could be however long or whatever. And then sometimes you fall off the rail and then you could be stuck there for a long time or not. And then you let go and then you go back up again. And so I think that's just how I perceive it.
Yeah. So I think when you look at a holistic version of sanity, I am far from sane. Right? But I think for me, when you look at, as I was talking about earlier, the insanity of what my life was when I came to a 12-step program.
Yeah.
Right. When I realized that I had been restored to sanity through a higher power, there was moments where I was like, whoa, I haven't woke up and craved anything for a long time. And there was moments and times in my life where I would wake up hurting, dope sick, falling out of bed, laying in my own puke, crawling to my dresser to get more dope, doing horrific things so that I didn't feel the way that I felt, and, but when I really truly believed that a higher power was looking out for me I went back to Ketchikan for Christmas and I was going to spend Christmas with my son. Well, I went to go stay with my sister. She was just seeing this new guy for a little bit. So she had went out to it was Christmas Eve. She had went out to his house. And I was at home and his mom at the time was, very adamant that she wanted to be there when he woke up for Christmas. So he was going to be there for Christmas. So there I am back in my hometown on Christmas Eve, nobody around me. I just traveled all this way to see my son for Christmas and I'm sitting on Christmas Eve alone. And so what do? I pick up the phone and I call some friends and I'm like, hey, let's hang out. And that hurt crept in, and this guy started doing like drug deals in front of me. And I remember just being like, oh man, it probably wouldn't hurt so bad if I had some of that. And so I started telling him, I want to buy some from you. And he was like, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Oh.
And there was points and times where it was sitting right next to me. There was like meth, all kinds of stuff just sitting right here. And I could have grabbed it and I verbally said I wanted it, but in my heart, I did not want it. Mm-hmm. In my heart and in my mind, I did not want it. Yeah. I just wanted not to hurt. And that's my reflex, is to use, not to hurt.
Yeah.
And I came back. I was working for True North at the time. And so I came back and I sat down with Carl and I said, this is what happened when I was on my trip. You can UA me right now if you want to. I promise you that I did not use. But I may have been on a drug deal. And, I just want to come clean with you. And for me, I knew there was something else driving the wheel because that is so far removed from Bryan and who Bryan is.
Yeah.
Like that was not how I would operate.
Yeah.
Integrity? What are you talking? I don't even know how to spell it, bro. Like, what do you mean? And so for me, like that was when I knew that a higher power had taken away and given me a gift of not having that. I mean, I still have cravings, but not just like that desire, like I have to have it or else.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Wow. I got goosebumps.
All right. Isaac, do you have any questions for us being the normie of the group? And
I think I got him out of the way. This is kind of back to something I said earlier. I think this is a really intimidating step for folks. I think outside looking in, this is where people are like, oh, you're just tricking me into going to church, dude. Like, right. I don't want to go to church. Yep. But it is, and again, I've not worked the 12 steps. I have had the privilege of sitting in on one meeting. I'm not some expert, but it is so much more than just
It's just so much more.
And it is so much. It is both so general but so personal at the same time. That's something I thought when I left that, getting to see and experience that. And I can totally see why people think that it's a cult, because if you don't know what the heck is going on, it is a little
so
intimidating.
culty.
I'm like, man, everyone has all this call and response stuff, and I am just sitting there, and the only thing that I know that's going on here is the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And I'm still having to hold people's hands while I'm saying that, dude. So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But it is back to something you said, Bryan. This step is setting you up for what comes after.
Yeah.
And you have to take that step and be prepared for what comes next, because again, from what I heard, we're gonna get into some steps that are pretty brutal to have to do here in a couple weeks.
For sure. And more is always revealed. And, again, just for anybody, going through that, just understand, they told me the same 3 things every day for 30 days. It's so annoying, but it helped. And it was, you just got to be honest, open-minded, and willing. And that's all it takes.
It's the only thing you have to have for membership is a willingness to stop drinking, right?
So, all right. Well, that is all the time that we have. Thank you again so much, Maggie, for you being here. We appreciate you taking the time out to come and chat with us. Again, if you are a youth in need of homeless or at-risk services, please come down to my house at 300 North Willow Street, downtown Wasilla. We are here. We are waiting for you. And goodbye.
See you next week.
Step 3.